frequency. Triple B and Joby on the mystery. Dialing back to Dallas, 1963. The shadow in the dark behind the history. Joseph pouring drinks down at the club. Whispers in the dark where the brass and money rub. Jack Ruby in the alley with a loaded gun. Certain kind of business that you don't show anyone. Welcome to the Lone Gunman podcast tonight. Spinning downtown Dallas in the golden light. Smooth talking truth through the velvet air. Dallas Mafia, we're standing right there. Yeah, the Triple B and Joby got the microphone. We don't leave a single conspiracy alone. Nancy Perrin Rich saw the payout at the bar, told the Warren Commission, but she didn't get too far. They tried to paint a picture, tried to make it stick, called her testimony trouble, said she was a crazy bitch. Swirling ice in a crystal glass, watching all the syndicate money pass. Two hoes searching for the missing piece underneath the tropical summer breeze. Welcome to the Lone Gunman podcast tonight. Spinning downtown Dallas in the golden light. Smooth talking truth through the velvet air. Dallas Mafia, we're standing right there. Yeah, the Triple B and Joby got the microphone. We don't leave a single conspiracy alone. Soft drums kicking in the midnight hum, counting down the motives till the answers come. From the grassy knoll to the syndicate line, we're tracking down the truth one frame at a time. Welcome to the Lone Gunman podcast tonight. Spinning downtown Dallas in the golden light. Smooth talking truth through the velvet air. Dallas Mafia, we're standing right there. Yeah, the Triple B and Joby got the microphone. We don't leave a single conspiracy alone. Triple B and Joby, signing off the air. Dallas Mafia, Jack Ruby's smooth, soft rock atmosphere. Keep your dial tuned right here. The Lone Gunman on the air.
Oh, yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Lone Gunman podcast. I hope you're feeling groovy this evening, just like we are. What do you say, Mr. Joseph Borelli?
I think you should check yourself into an AI rehab.
Negative, sir. You
I
love it.
I love it. I love it. It was
I
great.
love it.
Yeah, it's great.
Hey, you can either stand against AI or you can willingly submit. Okay.
That's true.
I am not a Terminator. I'm not a T-800. I am not John Connor. I am not Sarah Connor. Skynet has won the war. We are screwed. But
Yes. If you can't beat him, join him.
that's right. So, welcome in, everyone. It's Friday night. You know what that means. We're going to be talking about the dirty Dallas Mafia this evening and also some Nancy Perrin Rich because she's kind of interwoven into the story of the Dallas Mafia in a couple certain ways or so. Right, Joe?
Yeah, she's definitely an interesting character, and I just want to say, put people in the chat. Put a one if you know who she is, or put a zero if you don't. Because I'll be perfectly honest, I did not know who she was before this week, but she
Yes.
she has a fascinating tale and documents to back it up. I mean, at least to prove she was not random.
Yeah, I've been meaning to do a show on her. She kind of comes up in the Warren Commission a little bit where they talk to her, and
Yeah.
then Garrison was particularly focused in on her story as well. He got some very interesting things wrong. He was about ready to charge her husband with accessory to JFK's murder, then found out that he had been dead for 8 years. So
Yes, by
that's a
suicide.
problem. That's a problem.
By
Allegedly.
su- by suicide.
Allegedly.
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 That's how it was ruled.
But we'll get there. We promise. So yeah, I've known about her and I've seen her in and out of the narratives, the various narratives of New Orleans and Dallas, and I've always meant to do a show on her, but I just never got around to it. So
We have some people in the chat that are smarter than I.
yes.
Scott, Derek.
Well, Joe, if you actually cracked a book once in a while about the case, you might
James.
you might find out who some of these people are that we talk about here on this show.
Yes. I mean, there are so many of these type of characters that are on the outside, but provide very interesting context, even if it's not directly related to November 22nd. Um, so we like learning about them, and we will, as we do on this show, learn about her later. I believe you'll kick it off,
Yeah,
Robert.
and I see some zeros in the chat, so there are some others like you out there, Joe, who've never heard of her, don't know anything about her, and like I said, we'll get into her here in a minute. But first, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Mafia, and here's why. When you're trying to figure out this case, Joe, it's something to suppose that maybe we figure it out a part of the case, and maybe we're right, maybe we're wrong, who knows? But then you always have to explain something else. And Jack Ruby is that anomaly that you have to explain. Okay, if you're talking about a conspiracy to silence Oswald, which I think we can all agree there was one,
Yes.
right? The question is, where do the orders come from? Who is Jack Ruby beholden to? Because it's not the anti-Castro Cuban exiles. I'm sure he'd give two shits about them.
Right.
So if you believe that they're involved in a plot to kill Kennedy, how do you get there to Jack Ruby? What Oswald does is he represents a very inconvenient situation for a number of people and a number of entities. No matter who set him up, right? To do the hit or take the fall for the hit, depending on what you believe. Okay? Because I don't think Oswald, as an anomaly in a vacuum, decided to do this on his own. Even if he did do it, I think there was still a conspiracy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
say there was a plot, and his part in the plot was something, whatever it may be, still part of a conspiracy. But I don't think that he pulled this off in a vacuum without any help, or if he was set up to make it look like he did this very well, I might add. And of course, there's a conspiracy. The question is, Jack Ruby. Okay, when you start looking at everything around Jack Ruby, who Jack Ruby was, where he came from, what he was doing in the days leading up to the assassination, who he was talking to on the phone, type of thing, you start to get a very interesting picture. Now, Jack Ruby said some things after he was in custody, suggesting that he was scared of the John Birch Society, that if he's got him out of Dallas and took him to Washington, then he would tell him everything that he knew. He admitted after he had been in prison, allegedly, that he had been told to silence Oswald. By who, he didn't mention. So that leaves a gap that we need to fill in a little bit if we can.
Would you agree that it's either two parties, most likely, which would be either the Mafia, and you could go back to, Italian Mafia, Campisis, that stuff, and I know you'll talk about that, or the extreme right wing, John Birch Society, right? I don't believe it was, CIA threatening him or Hoover or whatever.
Yeah.
Had to be one of the two, right? Would you agree with that?
I would think it would have to be an entity that that Jack Ruby would have been scared of them actually being able to do to him what they threatened to do if he didn't do what he did. Right? I mean, what's the CIA have on Jack Ruby? Probably nothing.
Right.
What's the FBI got on him? Maybe some gun running charges from years ago. Who cares? Right? But
not enough to convince him to go on a suicide mission.
Right.
Essentially.
Right. And from what we know, before November 24th, 1963, Jack Ruby had never killed anyone. Either from a distance, or up close, or with a knife, or with a bat, or with a gun. Now, he had been in some scuffles, allegedly.
He did beat the shit out of a few people, sure.
Yeah, but killing a man is a little different. Okay? Now, he did grow up in the mean streets of Chicago, doing things for Al Capone's gang, allegedly, which would put him in proximity of several of these, known mobsters.
Right.
And he was an associate of many mobsters that you have heard of, and we will be naming names here this evening.
Yeah. And just I just want to point out, and we've talked about this before, obviously Jack Ruby was Jewish. He could never be a made member of La Cosa Nostra. He could only be an associate.
Correct. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he wasn't scared of them.
No, not
or that he would work with them.
Right.
I mean, look at Meyer Lansky, okay?
Right.
Jewish, not Italian, very high up in the mafia, very smart. The Italians knew that the Jews do one thing good: money. Okay? Mm-hmm. They're not stupid. Yeah. There was lots of very high-ranking Jewish people in many industries in America that the Italians would use to make money.
Right. And just to quote back to a movie, which is Godfather 2, Michael Corleone, when they go to Cuba, he meets with some guy, Hyman Roth, who is allegedly supposed to be based on Meyer Lansky. So these two mafias were working together, right?
Yeah, very closely.
In the interest of money. That's all it came down to. It's not personal. It's just business.
It's just business. Now, for all of its many faults, and you can point to whatever you want to, the House Select Committee on Assassinations was very keen on investigating the Mafia. Okay?
Yes. Blakey in particular.
being involved in some part of the assassination or the cover-up. There have been many, many books written from that angle. There have been so-called confessions, right, from people like Carlos Marcello, Sam Giancana, go on down the list. But and when the CIA chose to use cutouts, somebody they had some pull with that they could control or manipulate due to the fact that they were doing a lot of illegal shit, who did they choose to do their dirty work for them, Joe?
A lot of the times, the mafia. Johnny Roselli is an example of one of many.
Correct. And it wasn't always about money because, as we'll see tonight, what Castro did in Cuba after taking control and kicking out all the gangsters, taking over all the casinos, that put a big dent in a lot of people's pockets. Okay.
Yeah. I think it merged the motivations of people like the CIA, the Mafia, and the Cuban exiles. Now you have all these three elements going towards the same goal.
Yeah.
Which
For the
we've
Cuban
talked about.
exiles, it's ideology. For the Mafia, it's, hey, you can come get your money back. Come get your shit back. Come get your land back. Come get your buildings back. Come get your casinos back, your hotels, your bars. Get your money back, type of thing. Get back in business down here.
Yes.
So it didn't take much convincing to kind of pull the Mafia in, plus whatever you have hanging over their head, right?
Right.
Which, if you remember and go back, the Kennedys, Bobby Kennedy in particular, was starting to really put the heat and the screws to La Cosa Nostra, here in the States.
Yes.
And as we all know, the FBI wouldn't even acknowledge that there was a Cosa Nostra until the late 60s, because Hoover knew that it was a wide empire, right, that they would have had to contend with. Could you imagine if the FBI had tried to go to war with the families back at the turn of the 50s and 60s?
I mean, that was like the peak of their power. The mafia's power. I don't know how that would have gone. I think it would have been extremely bloody and complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and look, Hoover himself would go to their establishments and stay and have fun and party with them, knowing, and who knows, there's talk of the whole blackmail picture with Hoover in a dress getting banged in a hotel or something. Who knows what the truth is behind that? If the Mafia held that trump card in their pocket, that's a problem. But
or if they're playing their CIA connections against the FBI, right? Like, hey, we're working with the CIA on this.
yeah, I mean,
Maybe not in the 50s, but in the 60s, yeah.
Yeah. So it's all a very interesting mix of folks. And look, there was things in every major city across America. Maybe not like in New York, where you have a big network of the Mafia, or Chicago, or these big ass cities, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to remember, Joe, where Dallas is not small potatoes. This is the heart of the oil industry, where the legitimate richest people in the world are living because of oil, right? People aren't stupid. You go where the money's at. You control the things that people with money like to enjoy, like nightclubs and Italian restaurants and
ladies.
other things, right?
I'll say it nicely, ladies.
Hooters.
Who was?
And Dallas is no exception to being having some claws sunk into it from the Mafia. Now, a little bit of the history of the Dallas Mafia for everybody who doesn't know, okay, goes back to the early 1900s and a guy named Carlo Piranio, okay? And this guy was legit, Joe. He was a native of Sicily.
It's a good start.
And he immigrated to the U.S. in 1901 with his brother Joseph. They first settled in Trey. Oh, that's right. He's in Japan. Shreveport, Louisiana, of all places. And Carlo began the Dallas faction of the American Mafia in 1921 with his brother Joseph as his underboss, as my underboss.
Mm-hmm.
Carlo, later described as the original head of the Mafia in Texas, was born in 1876 in Corleone, Sicily.
Corleone.
Yes.
Nice.
The same hometown as early New York Mafia boss Giuseppe Morello. Giuseppe Morello. Joe Borello.
Do you think I'm connected on the line?
There's a lot of names that sound like Borelli that we'll be reading here. So, Carlo ran a real estate business from his home. You always have to have some kind of legitimate business, right, Joe?
Right.
To mask what you're doing there.
Yeah.
And his brother Joseph worked as a grocery salesman. But Joseph was not entirely settled in Texas. He moved back to Louisiana for a few years. He and his wife and 2 young daughters returned to Dallas in 1914 in 1914. And then Carlo died of natural causes in 1930. And at that point, his little brother Joseph took over the family after Carlo's death. He owned a number of bars, controlled numerous gambling operations, and ran some minor labor rackets through his construction business. You know, it all sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, it does.
The usual template. Now we move on to the next one to take over the Dallas Mafia, and his name would be Joseph, not Borelli, Civello.
Civello. Yes.
He was born in 1902 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He was the second child born to Philip and Catherine Civello. They grew up to include 7 children. The family remained in Baton Rouge until 23 when Philip relocated the clan to Dallas and opened a grocery store. Legitimate business. Civello married in 1929. Him and his wife Mary moved into Philip Civello's house at 1902 Moser Avenue. Law enforcement officers quickly became aware of Mr. Joseph Civello. He was convicted of prohibition violations, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
In 1926, and he served 40 whopping days in jail. In 1928, Civello was again arrested on liquor charges. His arrest was part of a series of raids and nabbed a total of 22 suspected bootleggers around the city. Civello was arrested on St. Paul Street with 2 other men, Ernie Calciano and Joe DiCarlo. Not Texans, by the way. So just 2 days after their arrest together, Civello and DiCarlo met inside the St. Paul drugstore at the intersection of St. Paul and Bryan Streets. Civello happened to be carrying a loaded shotgun at the time, as one does, in Dallas, downtown, at a drugstore. And lo and behold, as the men were stood close together, the shotgun accidentally went off, as it sometimes does, Joe. And old DiCarlo was shot in the stomach. But rather than flee, Mr. Civello remained with the mortally wounded DiCarlo, protesting that it was just an accident. And DiCarlo, with his dying breath, allegedly confirmed Civillo's story. Allegedly. He was arrested and charged with murder, as one is when you accidentally shoot somebody in the stomach with a shotgun in the middle of downtown.
Well, you have to think if you're carrying a shotgun, right? You have to think it's being like carried under a jacket vertically, right? Like this way. How do you then shoot someone right in the stomach accidentally?
I don't know. That is a question only DeCarlo would know. But he was arrested and charged with murder. They let him out after 2 days, released on his own recognizance, you know. There was a grand jury to determine whether or not they had enough to charge Civillo with DeCarlo's death, and they chose not to. Nothing to see here. Not enough evidence, Joe.
The grand jury, you said?
Yeah, they refused to indict him.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because grand jury is like pretty much like mostly civilians, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So Civillo assumed control officially of the Dallas Mafia in 1956 when old man Joseph Perrano finally died at the age of 78. And Civillo actually attended the infamous Appalachian meeting, Joe.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people are busted there.
In 1957, a time when he controlled narcotics, gambling, prostitution, and nightclubs in most of Texas, which is a big-ass state, by the way. After the Appalachian meeting, the FBI began keeping closer tabs on old Joey C. And in 1960, Civillo was indicted for conspiracy and perjury. Judge Irving R. Kaufman sentenced him and 19 other mob leaders that were at the Appalachian Conference to 5 years in prison, Joe. But after serving 10 months, a U.S. appeals court overturned the convictions of the 20 men. Prosecutors had proven conspiracy, the court decided, but had not proven that the conspiracy was designed to accomplish anything unlawful. If that makes any sense whatsoever.
Not really.
Okay. Oh boy. So after now Civillo was in charge of Dallas at the time of the whole Kennedy deal. He remained in power in the Dallas Mafia until 1970 when he passed away. And his buddy, another local restaurant owner and friend named Joseph, a lot of Josephs here this evening. Joseph Ianni, a longtime friend of Civillo, became the head of the organization. But he had a lot of legal trouble as well. Poor bastard. He allegedly only had a vague association with Marcello, allegedly. Civillo was the one that had very close ties to Carlos Marcello.
Well, wasn't he under Marcello's umbrella, if you will?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. They ultimately reported to Carlos Marcello. It was kind of considered an extended territory, if you will, outside of Louisiana.
Right.
So he didn't last very long, Mr. Ianni. 3 years. Right? And he's dead. So here comes another Joseph. Old Papa Joe. Papa Joe Campisi. Maybe you've heard of him. Maybe you've even eaten at his Egyptian lounge or restaurant or pizza parlor or whatever the fuck it is now, right?
I have.
Yeah, and he was head of the Dallas Mafia until he died in 1990.
He made it a lot longer than the other Joe. Or,
Yes.
yeah.
Now, Joseph Campisi was the underboss under Savello and Ianni from 1959 until Ianni died in 73. So Campisi's been in the game for a very long time. Very long time. The consigliere.
Yes.
What is the consigliere, Joe? Explain to the.
It's kind of like the advisor, right? To to the boss and the underboss. Like if you know Tom Hagen and The Godfather, he was the consigliere. He gives advice to, say, Michael Corleone and Sonny and you know what I mean, and Marlon Brando, of course. So he's kind of the advisor of the family. Sometimes they're lawyers or they're a trusted advisor, I guess is the short answer.
Yes. The consigliere from 1925 to 1957 would have been Frank Ianni until he died, which I believe was the other Ianni's brother, Joseph Ianni's brother. And then after that, during the reign of Savello, you have Rosario Musso as the consigliere, Joe.
Yeah. Yep. And yes, Scott, that is where I met you first. And me and Doug. And a bunch of other researchers that were there.
Now, a little more information about Mr. Savello, Joseph Savello. He was born in Baton Rouge. He was related to the Frank DeSimone of the Dragna crime family in Los Angeles. Let's see. Savello was an expert marksman and regularly participated in skeet shooting competitions and also shooting people with shotguns in the stomach. As a longtime member of the Dallas Gun and Skeet Motherfucker Club.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that.
Interesting that the head of the Dallas Mafia at the time of the Kennedy assassination was an expert marksman. Coincidence or conspiracy? Oh, boy. By the early 30s, Savello had organized a crew dubbed the Savello Gang by the Dallas Morning News, which included cousins Sam Savello, Louis Savello, Leon Savello, Frank Ianni, Joe Cassio, among others. The gang operated as associates of the Pirano crime family. It was involved primarily with bootlegging and narcotics trafficking. That is liquor and weed, Joe.
Not a bad combo.
No, I'm not sure what narcotics were big back in the 1930s, but I mean, shit, cocaine was legal back then, wasn't it? You could buy it in a bottle.
I don't even know if it was a thing back then.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, other than a little weed, I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, it was mostly, and as we will get to when we talk about Nancy Rich, she talks about, serving hard liquor, which was classified differently than wine and beer, allegedly.
Well, in 1937, he was sentenced to 2 concurrent 15-year prison terms on narcotics charges. Savello and his brothers Sam and Leon were caught with heroin. So apparently heroin was a thing back then.
Okay, that would make more sense than the white stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Valued at $300,000 wholesale price. Savello served 6 years at Fort Leavenworth before being released in 1944. He received an early parole on the recommendation of... Take a guess.
It wasn't Hoover, was it?
No, it was a Dallas person.
Bill Alexander?
Close.
Wade.
Close.
All right, give it to me.
Dallas Sheriff Bill Decker
Decker. Okay.
recommended that Savello be let out of prison. He's a good guy.
He's a good fella.
He's a friend of ours. Allegedly. Okay. Actually, Campisi traveled with Savello to the Appalachian meeting. So he went with him.
I did not know that. Wow.
New Orleans crime family boss Marcello was angry that the Genovese crime family had attempted to kill Frank Costello that year. So he sent Savello instead of personally attending. Marcello said, I'm not going. You go, Joe. Deal with that bullshit.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
That's some good foresight on his part.
Yes, it was.
And James, I believe Rob said wholesale, so that would be before, not after,
Right.
not street value.
So, an ass ton. I don't know what $300,000 is in 1930s money, but I guarantee it's probably a couple million.
No, it's 3 million, and then you think, cut up and sold in small amounts, probably double or triple or quadruple that. So you're talking millions of dollars, yes, in today's money.
Russell Buffalino
Oh,
out of Philly personally picked up Savello, Simon Scafuzzi. No,
by
Simon.
the way, Russell Buffalino was played by Joe Pesci in The Irishman.
Yes,
movie,
very
which
correct.
Was, he was a big deal.
Yep, he picked up Savello, Scazzari, and Frank DeSimone at the Hotel New Yorker and took them to the Casey Hotel in Scranton, PA. And the next morning, he drove them on to the Appalachian for the meeting, which I believe is seen in the movie The Irishman. In 1959, Savello was convicted of a conspiracy charge, sentenced to 5 years in prison. Again, this is where they let him out.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, Rob, there are so many Kennedy references in The Irishman. You have David Ferry, you have E. Howard Hunt making appearances.
Yeah.
They talk about the Kennedys like a lot. So it's pretty funny. I did a rewatch of it recently, and you have David Ferry with the weird eyebrows, and Frank Sheeran delivering truck of something to him. It's fascinating. Watch it if you haven't. I believe it's on Netflix.
Yeah, and we talked about the blind eye of the FBI, right? Mm-hmm. In 1957, an FBI field office described Savello as simply, and I quote, a counselor to the Italian community at large, end quote. Yeah. That's just an example of the FBI's blind eye to the mafia. Mm-hmm. In the late 50s, the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, I guess this is pre-DEA, right? Mm-hmm. Agent John Cusack, not the actor. No. This is John T. Cusack, much like John T. Martin and John Martin. Don't confuse them as the same people. Although, with a name like that, he might be related to whoever this former Federal Bureau of Narcotics person is. Testified before a U.S. Senate committee that Savello was an individual of major importance in narcotics trafficking. In his 1963 hearings regarding the links between organized crime and narcotics, the U.S. Senate's Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations noted that Savello had criminal associates that included Rocco and Peter Pellegrino of New York City, Frank Torticelli, Biagio Angelica, Joe Ianni and Joe Glaviano, and Nicholas Impastato, and Joseph Filadro, and Joseph DeLuca of Kansas City.
Why are they picking on all the paisans over here?
It described him as controlling all of the rackets in Dallas and its environs. Frank Coppola transported narcotics to Savello in Dallas. This was done by a trucking company owned by John Romento of the Lucchese crime family. Maybe you've heard of them.
Yes, one of the five families. Yeah.
He was also close friends of James Lanza of the Lanza crime family in San Francisco, who allegedly threatened to kill Larry Crayford for knocking his daughter up. Maybe you've heard of him. In 1967, Savello was, that's not even a joke. That's legit.
Yeah.
Allegedly. He was a close friend. Let's see. He was approached to arrange, in 1967, Savello was approached to arrange a meeting between Al Marshall, not an Italian, and Nick Savella. Oh, there's a Italian, of the notorious Kansas City crime family.
Yeah.
Marshall sought Savello's support in purchasing the Riviera Hotel and Casino with a Teamsters fund loan. During hearings of the House Select Committee on Crime, Representative Sam Steiger asked Carlos Marcello, that is, if he recalled ever meeting Joseph Savello. Marcello said, "I've heard of him."
I'm surprised he even said that.
Right. Savello himself, Joe, was close to Jack Ruby, the killer of Lee Harvey Oswald. He was interviewed by the FBI on January 14th, 1964. And in its investigation of the assassination of John F. Kennedy, the House Select Committee on Assassination said that it recognized Ruby's murder of Oswald as a primary reason to suspect organized crime as possibly having involvement in the assassination in some form or fashion. In its investigation of Ruby to determine if he was involved in criminal activities and if that involvement was related to the killing of Oswald, the HSCA noted that Ruby was, quote, a personal acquaintance of Savello and that Savello was an associate of Marcello. The committee reported that Oswald and Ruby showed a variety of relationships that may have matured into an assassination conspiracy, but that it was unable to firmly identify the other gunmen or the nature and extent of a conspiracy involving organized crime. Easy to speculate. Hard to prove, Joe. Mm-hmm. Hard to prove. Joe Savello is buried at Calvary Hill Cemetery in Dallas. If you ever want to go taking some flowers, folks, that are down there. Which brings us to Joseph Campisi.
Oh.
Right? He's a little sus, as the kids say. He was known as Egyptian Joe.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Again, head of the Mafia in Dallas from 1973 until his death in 1990. He was actually born in Dallas, Texas. He didn't immigrate. But Campisi was the underboss to then head of Dallas Mafia, Joe Savello, at the time of the Kennedy assassination. Campisi and his brother Sam were associated with Carlos Marcello and made trips to New Orleans frequently, where they would socialize with members of the Marcello crime family, including Marcello's brothers. Every Christmas, he sent Marcello 260 pounds of Italian sausage. Why do you think he specifically sent him 260 pounds of Italian sausage, Joe?
260 pounds. I mean, I have no idea, but if I'm going to speculate, maybe there was something else in the delivery. I don't know.
No.
No?
I'm going to do a little Steiner math here for everybody. Live on the air.
Okay.
So, if we take 260 pounds, right? And we divide that by 52 weeks in a year.
Right.
Okay. Oh shit, hold on. That's a big number. 260 divided by 52 comes out to be exactly 5 pounds a week, or a pound of sausage for each weekday of the week for a whole year.
Right. Not a crazy amount
No,
if you break it down that way. Right.
but it's a lot of sausage.
A lot of sausage. That's what she said.
A lot of Italian sausages. It's one of those Christmas jokes, Joe, between Italians. He also attended the wedding of Michael Marcello, and through Campisi, Vincent Loscalzo attempted to strengthen ties between the Trafficante family and Marcello. Now, here's where things get interesting, folks. Campisi became acquainted with somebody named R.D. Matthews after he and his brother purchased the Idol Bar, where Matthews just happened to work. In subsequent years, he would accompany Campisi on his trips to Las Vegas. Other friends of his included Benny Binion of Binion Casinos in Las Vegas, and also Henry Wade. Joe, maybe you've heard of him, district attorney in Dallas for 30 years. Yeah. So Campisi and Wade, very good friends. Make of that what you will. Campisi had contacts with both judicial and law enforcement persons in Dallas. He was reportedly acquainted with state judges and officials in Dallas County DA's office. And Bill Decker was set to step down as Dallas sheriff. Campisi hoped that Clarence Jones would serve as his replacement, as it would have meant that his bookmaking operations could have continued unhindered, as they had been under Bill Decker. So take that for what you will. Right, a lot of payoffs going on around Dallas, Joe.
Yes. We're not talking about physical books like JFK books.
Yeah, gambling operations.
Right. Like the accounting books.
And DAs and judges and cops all being paid to look the other way.
Of course. One big club.
Dirty Dallas.
Not much has changed, really. I mean, maybe not as Mafia heavy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. Now, Joseph Campisi inherited the Egyptian Lounge when his father Carlo died. Joseph Savello was a frequent visitor to the restaurant, as was somebody named Jack Ruby, the killer of Lee Harvey Oswald. Ruby was a close friend of Campisi's, and Campisi was likewise a visitor to Ruby's strip clubs. Ruby dined at Campisi's restaurant the night before Kennedy was assassinated, as a matter of fact. And oh, by the way, Joseph Campisi was the first person to visit Ruby in jail after he was arrested.
Right. So that is, of course, something we've heard about for a long time, but I would classify that as a problem.
Just a coincidence, Joe. Just a coincidence.
Right.
Right. Now, Campisi was interviewed by the FBI on December 7th, 1963, but was not called to testify before the Warren Commission.
No, Scott, that was Giancana, who was murdered while cooking sausage and peppers. Yes. Sorry.
Yes. All right. So we have Campisi not called to testify before the Warren Commission. However, you would think that they would have had they understood that Jack Ruby had ate dinner there the night before, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't. He did provide a deposition to the HSCA on May 29th, 1978, though, however, Joe.
Camp Easy.
Yes.
Okay.
But, of course, he admitted to nothing. Nothing. We're just friends. Why are you making a big deal out of such a thing?
What's wrong with you?
Which brings us back to R.D. Matthews. Russell Douglas Matthews, a.k.a. The Patch, Joe.
The Patch.
You know why they called him The Patch?
I don't, but I'm very intrigued.
Because he had a fucking patch like a pirate over his eyeball.
Oh, wow.
Yes, he was missing an eye from a scuffle in his younger days, apparently. Allegedly. Check this out. All right, this is wild shit here. And I endorse none of it, by the way. So, R.D. Matthews was born in Aspermont, Texas on July 26, 1920. He attended the Woodrow Wilson High School in Dallas, where one of his classmates, Joe, was...
I have no idea. You're going to have to help me there.
Malcolm McWallace.
Oh, it's all coming together. LBJ did it.
Oh, here we go. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, he enlisted into the Marines, and he was awarded the Navy Cross and Purple Heart for his service. After the war, he returned to Texas and became involved with the Hollis DeLois Green Gang in Dallas. The Hollis DeLois Green Gang. That seems like a bit of a mouthful to rep. Yo, we part of the Hollis DeLois Green Gang.
Right. Imagine that getting like that tattooed on your arm or your back.
But their colors were green, apparently. Go figure. He had involvement in illegal bookmaking and developed a reputation as a tough guy, Joe, or an enforcer. The motherfucker they would send with a baseball bat to break your fucking kneecaps if you didn't pay up. Right? He's somebody every good Italian mafia needs. Is a good enforcer, Joe.
That is true.
I'll break your fucking kneecaps. The FBI described old R.D. as a strong arm for the collection of gambling debts. He was arrested on Fort Worth Avenue after the police obtained a search warrant, and several ounces of cocaine were found in his pocket, and he received a prison sentence. Fan of the old cocaine. Can't blame a man. In November of 1949, a lady by the name of Mildred Noble, Joe, the wife of Hoybit Noble, was killed when her husband's car exploded. Matthews was brought in and questioned by none other than Captain J.W. Fritz as a suspect. And you know, Joe, that Captain Fritz always gets his man. You know this, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Highest prosecution rate ever.
But when you have good connections, Joe, that shit just don't matter. Because the Dallas police believe that Matthews and Lois Green had placed dynamite in Noble's car. But Matthews denied involvement, and due to lack of evidence,
I was about to say lack of evidence.
he was never indicted. Gee, I wonder why. Well, when you're friends with the DA, things like that can happen.
Yeah.
Lack of evidence. We declined to prosecute due to lack of evidence. One night, an associate of Noble was sent to visit Matthew's home, whom he told he needed a place to stay that night. So Matthew, being an okay guy that he is, agreed. And while he was asleep in bed, the man shot him in the head with a .22 caliber pistol. Joe?
He was a good guy.
The bullet went through his left eye and exited his temple. Get this shit. Imagine being shot in your left eye and it exiting out your right temple. Okay? That's brutal, right?
Yeah.
Brutal. But R.D. Matthews was such a badass motherfucker. Check this out. He just got shot in the eye through the temple, Joe, and he proceeded to get up, get dressed, and drive himself to the hospital.
Oh,
What?
Hey, I mean, I drove myself to the hospital after I split my whole arm open. There's a whole scar going down the right. And I was like, do I need to go to the hospital? And I was like, yeah, probably. I drove myself, but it wasn't a shot through the eye. But I can respect it. I can respect it.
He survived, but lost his eye, unfortunately. Hence the nickname The Patch, folks. According to Matthews, the guy who shot him ended up having an accident a few years later.
Of course.
As one does.
They always get the revenge. It might not come immediately, but it always happens.
Hey, you remember me, motherfucker? You missed. Pow, 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 pow. I mean, this would be a great movie. Matthews became acquainted with Joseph Campisi, again, after him and his brother purchased the Idol Bar where Matthews worked as a dishwasher. In subsequent years, he would accompany Campisi on his trips to Las Vegas, which we've read already. Let's see. In 1958, he arrived in Havana, Cuba, and worked for
Santo Trafficante?
Santo Trafficante. Exactly,
All
Joseph.
right, there we go.
At the Hotel Deauville and the San Suchi. He lived there from 1958 until January 1959. He owned 2 bars, one located in the Plaza Hotel and another at the Sportsman's Club on, Henio Street, which he purchased in 1958. Not too bad for a guy in a patch.
Right. I feel like they. I feel like
was
they.
a simple dishwasher not very long before that, right?
I feel like they could have come up with a better nickname for him than the Patch, like something one eye.
Yeah, like One-Eyed Willie, or a pirate nickname like
Yeah.
Here Comes Captain Jack, or something cooler than the Patch, right?
Right.
But again, we're talking about Italian gangsters here. They're not very creative with their nicknames.
Oh.
What?
I take offense to that.
Well, as well you should. Okay. At some point, while in Cuba, he made the acquaintance of Jack Ruby. That would be R.D. Matthews. The Warren Commission described Matthews as, quote, an acquaintance, end quote, of Ruby's. Later, Matthews' relationship with Ruby was examined in more detail during the tenure of the HSCA.
Everett, let me stop you there, because we know Ruby made multiple trips to Cuba in, I believe it was the fall of '59, September-ish, kind of around the time that Trafficante was in prison there. So I'm guessing they probably met around that time, if I had to speculate.
I would totally agree with that assessment. For sure. R.D. Matthews ended up testifying before the HSCA on April 3rd, 1978, in the presence of his lawyer, Harry E. Claiborne, Esquire. Matthews later told author Doug Swanson that, quote, they said Ruby had my phone number in his pocket. Don't believe it. and that he knew Ruby to, quote, speak to him on the street. But that's it. That's it, Joe. If I saw him on the street, I'd say hi.
Of course.
And that, hey, they found your number in his pocket when they arrested him. RD, what's up with that? I don't believe it. Okay.
Who's going to question a dude with one eye?
Right. And get this. This is crazy. R.D. Matthews, right? He was a close friend and associate of casino operator Benny Binion. He was actually managed Binion's Horseshoe Casino Club in Las Vegas. For Benny Binion, Matthews functioned as muscle for Binion, patrolling the casino floor armed with a gun, a suit, and a patch over one eye. He was present at the hospital for the birth of Binion's daughter, Becky Binion, and the birth of her children also.
Whoa.
So, dude's been around the family for a long time.
Probably was a godfather to one of those kids.
Probably. And on one occasion, in August 2000, at the tender age of 80, okay, he got into a fight with the casino manager and poker player, Bob Stupak, bitch slapping him in the face during a disagreement over Becky Binion's management of the Horseshoe. In November 2000, he pled no contest to misdemeanor battery, being ordered to pay a $1,000 fine, and he died in 2013 at the age of 92.
Wow.
So he's still bitch slapping motherfuckers at 80 years old, dude. In the casino.
Yeah, Rob, I just wrote down, obviously, R.D. Matthews' name and HSCA, and I think that will have to be part 2, members-only content.
Yes.
That will be some good reading there.
Absolutely. All right, Joe, let's get into... We'll switch gears here and get into the little Nancy Perrin Rich.
All right. Well, she was born in September 1936 in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which I have been to. It's a very lovely little town, as Barbara Jean Zeidman, and was adopted at about 8 months old.
Oh, she's one of them, huh?
Yes, a chosen person. By Lawrence and Helen Matthews.
Interesting.
Becoming known as Nancy Elaine Matthews in 1961 while married to Robert Perrin, which is obviously how she got her name, Nancy Perrin. Rich, which was a later husband. Anyways, Robert Perrin was a... Actually, take that down for a sec.
I just got it up.
I know, that's what she said. She lived in Dallas and worked for Ruby at the Carousel Club on Commerce Street.
She did, allegedly.
And July through August 1961 as a bartender and waitress. She later remarried Robert L. Rich in April 1964 and lived in places including California, Massachusetts, and so she got around. She came to public and investigative attention after the JFK assassination because of her statements to the FBI starting in late November 63. We will read that, and her sworn testimony before the Warren Commission on June 2nd, 1964. She claimed to have gotten the carousel job through a Dallas police contact, Detective Paul Rayburn of the Juvenile Division, and said Ruby had a close relationship with many Dallas police officers. We know this. Routinely providing them free hard liquor against Texas rules, women, and other favors. So, Rob, I before we go into the PowerPoint, I thought it'd be interesting to play the clip that I sent you in our private chat here to provide a little context into what she sounds like, what she looks like, and then we'll go into the documents.
And Big Bad Bob would not kick her out of bed, is all I'm saying.
No. Nope.
So here we go. If you can't hear this, let us know, okay? Because we never know if y'all can't hear it or not. But let us know in the chat if you cannot hear what is about to happen. All right, here we go. That's the wrong button.
You're just jonesing to see my PowerPoint, huh?
I'm trigger happy.
That's what she said.
All right, take two.
We're at the Lewiston Raceway in Lewiston, Maine, with Mrs. Nancy Hamilton, owner of the Hamilton Stables. Mrs. Hamilton, did you testify as a witness before the Warren Commission?
Yes, I did. On June 2nd, 1964. We have been a freelance investigator for various police departments, district attorney's offices, such as the Sacramento District Attorney's Office.
Now, Joe, you said informant. She says a freelance investigator for various police departments.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
Yes. I'm sticking to my informant claim, and I'm going to ask you to pause it after like two more sentences.
All right, I'm just making sure everybody can hear this shit. I don't see anybody saying they can't. So.
Yeah, I can hear it well. So.
Here we go.
County, Massachusetts District Attorney's Office, Boston Police Department, and various private detectives.
And before that, were you employed by Jack Ruby?
Yes, I was. This was in 1961 in Dallas at his club, the Carousel, and I was bartender, waitress, and rather the manager there.
How did you get that job?
I had gone into Dallas not knowing anyone, and of course the first place I went was the police department.
Pause.
And they were very kind and got me the job there.
Okay, Rob, let me just go through this hypothetical. Rob moves to California.
Yes.
You don't know a soul.
I don't.
Would your first stop be at the LAPD?
No. Probably not.
Right.
Unless I was a gigolo for hire who loved danger and intrigue and mystery and ratting on bad people.
Right, but if you're doing nefarious things, aka maybe prostitution or selling liquor out, when you're not supposed to, why make yourself known to the DPD? That is why that sentence there. Of course, my first stop, not my first stop. Of course, my first stop would have been the DPD. Sus.
Do you know where I can find a job? Sure. Go to the Carousel Club and talk to Jack Ruby. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Like, what in the hell?
I don't know. All right. I just wanted to point that out as I don't know what this lady was up to, but.
And also, what do you think the over-under is that Mark Lane banged this chick? Look at the way she's looking at him in this video, in this interview.
Well, I guess her husband, Rich, had died in 1964 or something. And I'm not sure exactly when this was. I believe it was...
No, he died before the Kennedy assassination.
No, she had...
Garrison wanted to charge him with it, and they were like, he'd been dead for like 2 years before that.
Right, so you could think this is 65, maybe 66, something in that area. I'm sure we could find it, but... Anyways, continue, because it gets...
Anyway, I'd put money on Mark Lane banged her.
Well,
that's just me.
You think he was that big of a player?
Yeah, dude was a freak, man. Remember the pliers?
Vaguely.
All I'm saying is I'm sure she could get freaky with the best of them, bro.
I'm sure she could.
Okay, here we go. Back to it. Sweet Nancy.
They got you the job at Jack Ruby?
Yes, they did.
Did they know Ruby?
Personally, oh yes, very well. Vouched for him. Wonderful person, great man. Well known by the Dallas Police Department.
Good guy.
What were your duties there?
Well, general bar duties such as setting up the liquor, getting the bar ready for the evening trade, waiting tables if he was short-handed. Otherwise, I'd be behind the bar serving the drinks.
Did you ever serve drinks to Dallas police officers?
Oh, yes. In fact, the Dallas police officers were the special boys, shall we say. We even had a private stock for them.
Private stock?
Oh, yes. They wouldn't, bar liquor wasn't for them. We had names such as Hagen Haig or Black Label. The very, very high-priced drinks on the house, of course. You never, and that was a gross oversight if you ever charged a Dallas police officer or any official of the city of Dallas or Tarrant County.
Well, other than the Dallas police officers, what officials did frequent Ruby's establishment?
Oh, such as your district attorney, which would be Mr. Wade.
Did you know Ruby before this?
No, sir. Did you receive any specific instructions from Jack Ruby about serving drinks for the Dallas police officers?
Well, Mr. Henry Wade, hello. I see we meet again, sir.
Yes, in fact, Jack told me point blank. He said, Nancy, if you ever, he said intentionally or unintentionally, charge a Dallas police officer, he said, you might as well go look for another job. He said, don't offend them, cater to them, talk with them, even if you ignore the other customers. Bend over backwards to be nice to them.
Did Ruby perform any other favors for the Dallas police officers?
Well, favors, we call them favors.
Backwards or forwards, whichever you prefer.
Yeah. Pun intended, yes.
Favors, I suppose so. He provided girls, gambling, and booze.
How many Dallas police officers would you estimate Jack Ruby knew on a personal basis?
At least half and probably two-thirds.
There were almost 1,200 police officers in Dallas in 1963. Would you say Ruby knew 600 of them?
Oh, easily.
A great deal has been written about the relationship of the Dallas Police Department with Jack Ruby. We have 1,200 men in our department, and we had each man to submit a report regarding his knowledge or acquaintance with Jack Ruby. Less than 50 men even knew Jack Ruby.
You see, Jack Ruby was a man who wanted to be noticed, wanted to be known. And he used to frequent the Dallas Police Department. And he used to brag, I can get this fixed for you, or I can get that fixed for you.
Did the Dallas Police Department or District Attorney's Office ever do any favors for Jack Ruby?
Several that I could probably name, such as serving drinks a little late.
I mean, Ruby was permitted to serve drinks after hours.
He did, and no one ever interfered. And, of course, it was common knowledge that he ran girls and gambling, and I've never seen him any kind of pickup on it.
Did you serve mixed drinks to police officers?
Yes.
Is it against the law in Dallas to serve mixed drinks?
Oh, yes, definitely, except in a private club.
This, of course, was not a private club.
No, open club.
So that every time you served a drink to a police officer, it was a violation of the law?
Yes, and I'd say I probably broke the law a few hundred times in doing so.
Of course, the police were witnesses.
Well, up to a point there was witnesses. After that, I guess they probably didn't care.
Yeah.
There you have it.
Wow. Running girls, drinks. What was the other one?
What?
He was running girls, drinks, and gambling. There we go.
Yeah. Girls, booze, and gambling.
Right. I mean, you got the trifecta there.
Yeah. And, being as close as he was with people like Savello and Campese, I can't imagine for the life of me that Jack Ruby wasn't mixed up even tangentially with these motherfuckers, right?
Right. He was probably kicking up, as they call it, in some way.
And you'd think that the mafia would have been somewhat controlling of the girls, right? Because we know that they were all being traded around or trafficked or whatever you want to call it between the circuit of Dallas and New Orleans.
Right.
We know Jack Ruby went to New Orleans. That's where he got Jada from,
Mm-hmm.
and brought her back to Dallas, and to have her feature there. And I get it. People don't want to see the same chicks over and over again. So you kind of move them around every so often to different clubs.
Yes,
Variety. It makes sense.
Variety is the spice of life, I believe the term is.
It makes total sense to do that, and I can definitely see the mafia being involved in that.
Yeah, I don't see
process.
I don't see how they could have not been involved in that.
Yeah, as well as narcotics. I mean, look no further than Rose Jeremy, a stripper bouncing back and forth between New Orleans and Dallas, and hooked on drugs or heroin or wherever they had her on.
Mm-hmm.
So you can only imagine how many women's lives they ruined, moving these chicks in between, all these things making the rounds. Jack would go into different clubs in New Orleans and be like, yeah, I want that one. I want that one. And they would make deals and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, the bottom line always, speaks the loudest, right?
If you say so. That is a Joe Borelli quote if I've ever heard one.
Huh? I think it's a pretty good one.
So saith Joseph Borelli. And I quote.
The philosopher, yes. All right. Put up my dumb PowerPoint as we'll go through some documents here. And let me bring this up a little closer. So they were on Nancy Elaine Perrin Rich pretty quickly. On 11/27/63 is when this interview was conducted. You can see it at the bottom there.
Well, she went to them. Amazingly enough.
She went to them.
She went to them after she saw Jack Ruby kill Oswald, yes.
Okay. I was not aware of that. But, so she's blah, 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 blah. Worked as a waitress in July, August 1961. Following her discharge from Ruby's Club in 61, Perrin claims she and her husband, Robert, now deceased, attended 4 meetings at an unknown apartment in Dallas of a group arranging to run guns to Castro in Cuba. Which is interesting, because this would be kind of counter-intuitive or counter to, what the mafia's stance on Castro would have been in late 1961. But regardless, Perrin states that Ruby was present at 3 of these meetings. Nancy stated United States Army colonel, name not remembered, was
Hello, Colonel Castor.
was in charge of the meetings where they discussed Enfield rifles. Who had an Enfield rifle? Oh.
Buell Frazier.
Oh. From Mexico, and sending them by plane and by boat to Cuba. Nancy said she made her husband pull out. I'm not going to even touch that one.
Not soon enough.
Of the operation, and does not know if any guns were ever received or ran to Cuba. Nancy Perrin stated that she could find the building where the meetings were held if she was in Dallas. Perrin stated that a, quote, Buddy King, end quote, was a master of ceremonies and comic entertainer in Ruby's club and a close friend of Ruby. Nancy feels King would know about Ruby's operations. She states she saw quote, syndicate men from Chicago and St. Louis in Ruby's nightclub. I believe that means mafia men.
Gangsters.
And she entertained them as hostess and observed money payments made to Ruby. The only time she could remember was Eddie Mark from St. Louis.
And his brother Skid.
That's a good one, actually.
Thank you.
Nancy claims Dallas police officers frequented Ruby's club where he gave them free drinks. We heard that. She states Cy Victorson, Dallas attorney, was retained by her in connection with an arrest for prostitution. She also states detectives Paul Rayburn, Dallas Police Department, Juvenile Division, I believe that's the person she said she got the job from, would vouch for her. Parrott admits to call girl operations in New Orleans, Rob, and Boston, where she has arrest record for prostitution. So, early kind of document. This is on December 6th, 63. So, a couple weeks after the assassination. Nancy Elaine Perrin was interviewed at the Oakland Resident Agency. She advised that she was born in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, September, blah, blah, blah. Her name was Barbara. We already went over this. And has been known as Nancy Elaine Matthews since she had been adopted by a family named Matthews. She stated and married Carl. This is all stuff we've kind of gone over. She got divorced. She got married. She stated she divorced this Scafusa Rusa Chio by, I guess she was married in Mexico too, or something, by Mexican divorce at Juarez, Mexico in 1959, and then married for Robert, sorry, this, again, hard to read, Perrin, now deceased, the next day at Juarez. From Juarez, she and her husband moved to Colorado Springs and later to Denver, Colorado, arriving at Denver in approximately 1960. She stated at this time she began to work as a prostitute. During this period of time, she met and acted as hostess for men who she described as belonging to the syndicate. By syndicate, she stated she meant the Italian Mafia organization headed by Vito Genovese of Italy, and that she had learned this from entertaining these syndicate men, one of whom, she states, was known as, what does that say, Young Piggy?
Yes.
Who says they don't have good nicknames, Rob?
Young Piggy Mancheesy.
She described him as a syndicate man from New York who was then hiding out in Denver. He was on the lam. She said she does not know names of other syndicate men she had entertained. And I'm sure she did know. I just think she had probably...
Too many to remember.
Well, I think she had the right intuition as to stop, to not name names, right?
Except for Young Piggy. I mean, who's scared of somebody who's nicknamed Young Piggy?
Well, who knows? He could have been dangerous. She said that in the latter part of 1960, she moved to Boston, Massachusetts, and later to New Hampshire, where she was employed lobbying for bills for this liquor industry and working with the Labor Committee of the New Hampshire state legislature. And she stated that it was her job to persuade legislators to vote for certain bills. So like a lobbyist, right? She said at this time, her husband Robert left her, and that in looking for him, she got information that he might have gone to Dallas. So she made a long-distance telephone call from Boston to Dallas sometime in 1961, and that man she spoke with was Dallas police officer J.D. Tippit. Now, Rob,
Yes.
on our members only, 2 days ago, we talk about how there was more than one Tippit in the DPD,
Yes.
and that was Gail Tippit, right, of CID, Criminal Investigative Division. I can't imagine J.D. Tippit was manning the phones.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't see a situation where that happens. The patrolman, right?
Probably
Especially someone of J.D. Tippett's, I don't know what the word is.
Ilk.
Yeah. So I could see her speaking to the other Tippett, but who the hell knows? The officers killed by Oswald, she said that she then proceeded to Dallas by bus, and after arriving in Dallas, contacted the police department since she had only $4 in her pocket. She said she arrived in Dallas in May or June of 61, and the officers that she contacted were Paul Rayburn, we talked about, of the Juvenile Bureau, and a detective named House. She stated they obtained a place for her to live, the address of which she does not recall, of course, but that it was near Highland Park and that she lived there about a month, later moving to Oak Street. Subsequently, her husband was located in South Bend, Indiana, and he came to Dallas and they had a reconciliation. So he wasn't really in Dallas, I guess, but whatever. She stated she did not recall specifically how she first came to work for Jack Ruby. At first, she said she thought one of the Dallas police officers had got her the job, and then stated she believed she also had answered an advertisement in the newspapers, that she went to the Carousel Club one afternoon, that no one was there, but that she was told to return that evening. She did come back and spoke to Jack Ruby, and that he hired her as a bartender at the Carousel Club, and that she started working there the same night behind the bar. Hired on the spot.
You hired.
She stated she
Thanks
served...
for the blowjob. You hired.
Yes. Well, probably not for Jack, but... I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you blow Larry while I watch.
Oh, man. She stated she only served beer and setups, but that some customers kept a bottle of liquor there, and in some cases they had bottles for special friends, which I believe would be DPD officers and other administration, people and lawyers, DAs, whatever. She said she worked for Ruby for 5 weeks and denied that she engaged in prostitution at that time. She said she did not like Ruby and that he had threatened her badly, and that she quit the job after a quarrel and fight with Ruby. She said Ruby pushed her against the cash register and threatened to throw her down the stairs. She stated that he had a bad temper and that she had known that on several occasions he threw people bodily out of the club. She said after she left Ruby, she worked for T.J. Jeffries as a hostess in his nightclub and dining room located outside the Dallas city limits for about 6 weeks. She said she also worked at a bar named the Theater Lounge and for a short time at a bar known as Red's Place. She stated that she was forced to quit her job with T.J. Jeffries because she became ill with kidney stones. Okay. So, she was in Massachusetts at the time of the Warren Commission in 1964, Rob. We're fast forwarding a couple of years. But You know how a lot of witnesses, like, for example, the ones in Texas, people working at the TSBD, like Mr. Ball would go down there and like talk to all of them back to back to back to back to back.
Yes.
They flew her from Massachusetts to DC, which I found interesting.
Yeah, well,
And her testimony is long and it's mostly irrelevant. I tried to pick out some interesting parts of it.
pick out some gems.
Yeah. Um, well, now, when did do you wanna play Miss Rich?
Sure.
Why not? Impromptu, not planned.
I rarely do females, Joe, but
Well,
tonight you all are in for a treat.
well, now, when did you first meet Jack Ruby?
Well, when I first reached Dallas, I of course went directly to the police station. Ironically enough, the first person I met was Mr. Tippett.
What was his first name? Are you referring to the Tippett who was shot on November 22nd?
I would say so. I believe it's the only Tippett on the police force.
Wrong. But, alright, so you met Mr. Tippett, and what happened then?
I walked in and I plunked $4 on his desk and said, "Here I am, motherfucker."
Well,
It was a joke. When I called him from Massachusetts, I told him when I hit there I told him when I hit there I would have $4 in my pocket. It was rather a kind of joke actually, so I said, "Here I am." He said, "Oh no, I told you not to do it."
again, I can't see JD doing that, but how long were you employed by Ruby altogether?
Probably a couple of months.
Did you work with Ruby after your husband joined you?
Yes, I did.
Did you work until you left Dallas?
No, I did not.
How long before leaving Dallas did you quit the job at Ruby's?
Possibly a couple months, 3 months. I wasn't in Dallas more than maybe 5 months, 4 months at the most, 4 or 5 months at the most.
Now, when you say bartender, what do you mean? What were your actual duties?
I was actually a bartender. What are you trying to say? You trying to say I'm a whore? I work behind the bar mixing and serving drinks. That's it. A bartender. That's it.
What sort of drinks?
Whatever was allowed. Actually, you're not allowed to serve mixed drinks there. We do special customers, though. You're not allowed to serve hard liquor. But I serve beer, wine, of course, your setups.
What customers did you serve hard liquor to?
Whoever I was told to, sir.
And you don't know their names.
Nope.
And again, this is a long interview, so I'm copying and pasting here. Well, how many others do you suppose you served?
I couldn't estimate. I couldn't give you a true and accurate figure. Anyone that came in from the police department, including certain attorneys in town. One attorney I particularly remember was a fellow by the name of Cy Victorson, who subsequently became my attorney and a close personal friend, if you know what I'm saying.
And what?
Personal friend.
What
Wink,
was your-
wink.
Yeah. What was your salary there?
I don't know, 50, 60 bucks a week, I guess.
Did you have any tips?
Sometimes.
Do you remember a man by the name of Andy Armstrong or Andrew Armstrong?
The name Armstrong doesn't really ring a bell. I guess if my memory serves me correctly, wasn't he the colored man that cleaned up around there?
Yes, he was. Did you have any difficulty with Ruby?
Except the fact that I was about ready to throw a cash register on his fucking head, no.
What was that?
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I'm very ladylike here. I said except for the fact that I was ready one night to throw a cash register on his head. I don't like to be pushed around.
Are you suggesting that he did push you around?
I'm suggesting he threw me up against the bar and put a bruise on my fucking arm. And only because Bud King and one of the dancers there pulled me off of him, I was going to kill him.
What was the argument about?
The bar glasses were not clean enough to suit him, and I wasn't pushing drinks to the customers fast enough.
And so he, uh, what is that? Remonstrated with you?
Yeah, whatever that word means, he did that to me.
And that included pushing you around.
Yes, that is correct. And I was refused the privilege of bringing an assault and battery charge against him.
Who refused you that?
Why, the Dallas Police Department, of course. I went down for information. It was going to Mr. Douglas. I believe he was some attorney. I think he was with the DA's office. I don't remember his position. I can't remember his last name. I wanted to file a suit against Ruby, and they said no. I was refused. I was told that if I did, I would never win it and get myself in more trouble than I had bargained for.
That was told to you by whom?
By the Dallas Police Department, man.
And by what individual of the DPD?
Again, and I wish to God I could. I can't remember his fucking name.
Meanwhile, let us pass on to another point. I think you have mentioned that you saw Ruby at a certain meeting at which your husband was present, and there was a general discussion of guns or Cuban refugees.
Well, your statement is partially correct.
Well, will you tell us what is actually correct?
At the first meeting, there were 4 people present. There was a colonel, or a light colonel, I forgot which. I also forget whether he was in the Air Force or the Army. It seems to me like it was the Army. I don't know. And it seems to me he was regular Army. There was my husband, Mr. Perrin, myself, and a fellow named Dave. And I don't remember his last name. Dave C., I think it was. Cole, maybe, but I wasn't to be sure. Dave came to my husband with a proposition. I bet he did.
So there were only 4 people present.
Let me clarify something. A statement about Dave. He was a bartender from the University Club on Commerce Street. I became associated with him and subsequently so did my husband. Well, at first it looked all right to me. They wanted someone to pilot a boat, someone that knew Cuba. And my husband claimed he did. Whether he did or not, I don't know. I know he did know boats. So they were going to bring Cuban refugees out and into Miami. All this was fine. Because by that time, everyone knew Castro for what he appears to be, shall we say. So I said, sure, why not? $10,000. I said, that is fine.
Some question. I cut it off. So you could start.
We went in our own car, but with Dave with us. And at that time, Dave and my husband and I were in the car.
All right, so tell us what happened.
Well, we got there, and at that time, there was the colonel, another middle-aged broad, kind of a real old granite-faced bitch. I would describe her with steel gray hair, looked rather mannish. And there was a rather...
Do you know her name?
Nah, I was introduced, names were mentioned around, I don't recall it. And then there was another rather pugnacious-looking fella who looked as though he might have been an ex-prize fighter or something.
Were you introduced to him?
I was introduced to everyone, baby.
Well, who else was there?
The colonel, the woman, the prize fighter type, a couple of other men that just kind of sat off in the corner looking stupid, and one of them looked rather dark like he might have been a Cuban or Latin, and Dave, my husband, and myself.
Tell us what happened at that meeting, if you will, ma'am.
Well, apparently from what I could discern, they had some kind of a hitch in their plan. And at that time, I point blank spoke up and I said, well, suppose we discuss the plans in full before we, meaning my husband and myself, get into this. I would like to know what we're getting ourselves into here. And at this point, by now I certainly have to have a say in this matter. Then it came out, boom, quite blank. We were going to bring Cuban refugees out, but we were going to run military supplies and rifles in.
Who made that statement?
I believe it was the Latin-looking fellow that first made the statement, but the colonel clarified it. The colonel seemed to be the head of it and seemed to do all the talking.
He was in uniform?
Yeah, he was.
And they go on a bunch about his uniform.
Like a scafuza.
Yeah. Right. And you came to the conclusion then that Vito Genovese, I'm skipping here, and that group of people were involved in this matter?
Within my own mind, yes. I thought that I got thinking perhaps the higher up that the colonel spoke of was perhaps the element I did not want to deal with, that was running the guns in, and God knows what else.
Why didn't you report it to the authorities in the in an interval between the third meeting and the time you left Dallas?
For the simple reason that I was hesitant about mentioning anything about my husband's past. I did not know how much of what my husband had told me was true. I did not know how much of it he knew before I knew it, or how deeply he was involved in anything. And quite frankly, if my husband was still alive, I never would have gone to the FBI.
But you already told us that at the end of the second meeting, you had decided to tell the authorities.
Not when I see that element there.
But that element does not affect...
That element, sir, if what my husband had told me was true, could have involved him a lot deeper than I suspected now. And quite frankly, I am not stupid enough, shall we say, to believe that if I ever went to the authorities and that element was involved, that I would ever live to tell a second story. And if my suppositions were true as to who the man's identity really is, a combination of fear for myself and protecting my husband, and at that time I thought, I suppose many citizens do, well, let the next fella do it. They'll catch them eventually. And I chose to close my eyes.
Well, I assume that you would know all the records you have.
Well, when I say that, I was picked up twice in Dallas, and both times the charges were dropped, as far as I know. That is what old Cy Victorson told me.
Were you ever charged?
Not that I know of.
Were you ever booked?
I don't believe so.
But you were arrested.
Yeah. One time I was in jail for a couple of hours. The other time, 5 hours, because they couldn't get a hold of Cy, who was playing fucking golf.
Were you told why you were being arrested?
I was arrested for investigation of vaginas and narcotics.
Vagrancy, I believe, but works just as well. Of what?
Vagrancy. Narcotics, prostitution, anything else they could dream up. This is very shortly after I had threatened to go and bring suits against Mr. Ruby. I was told I might find the climate outside of Dallas a little more to my liking if I didn't take the advice of the police department.
Who told you that?
The time I went down and wanted to bring charges against Mr. Ruby for assault and battery, I was told not to. And at that time, I was also advised that I was told not to leave the city or anything like that, but that it was nice in Chicago, for instance, this time of year.
And I think you said that you did not remember the name of the man.
I cannot remember the name of the detective that I spoke to, no.
But he was the detective on the police force.
He was. Jack Ruby is very well known in Dallas. A little too well known, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Anyone that made that statement would either be a damn liar or a damn fool. Oh, I'm sorry, that's you. Why?
There is no possible way that Jack Ruby could walk in Dallas and be mistaken for a newspaper reporter. Well, actually, unless he looks exactly like a fucking newspaper reporter, as Rob Clark so blatantly pointed out in the show with Paul Abbott, especially in the police department, not by any stretch of the imagination.
Is that your opinion?
That is not my personal opinion. That is a fucking fact, Jack.
Well, on what do you base it?
Ye gods, man. I don't think there's a cop in Dallas that doesn't know Jack Ruby. He practically lived at that station. They lived at his place. Even the lowest patrolman on the beat. He is a real fanatic on that anyway.
When you say even the lowest patrolman on the beat, what do you mean?
Everybody from the patrolman on the beat in uniform to, I guess, everybody with the exception of Captain fucking Fritz used to come in there. I knew him personally. He used to practically live there at the station. Now, I'm not saying that Fritz didn't know him. I'm saying that he was never seen in the carousel. He has always been, I think, a little too far above things for that.
Well, have you seen other high-ranking officers there?
Yes, I have.
Would you name them, please?
I would if I could. I would only be glad to.
You mean you don't know?
I cannot recall names, sir.
All right. So that was fun.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But you can kind of see her, I don't know what you would call it, like a situational awareness as to not like start naming names and possibly get yourself in more trouble. But then again,
Well, she is saying a lot there to the Warren Commission.
she is. And she says even more if you'd like to go look it up and read the whole thing. But again, this is a person that, and I quote, I didn't know a soul in Dallas, but of course my first stop would have been the police station. So I don't know what's going on with this girl, woman. So now we have FBI, Department of Justice, Commission Exhibit 1178B, I guess. Miss Nancy Perrin Rich. By letter dated June 8th, 64, General Counsel, President's Commission, blah, 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 blah. On June 2nd, 64, Nancy Perrin, now the wife of Francis L. Rich, whom she married on April 64, was deposed by a member of the Commission staff. During the course of the testimony, Miss Nancy Perrin Rich produced the following document, dated October 25th, 1963. To whom it may concern, commencing July 12, 1963, and subsequent thereto, this office had occasion to use the services of Nancy Perrin in the matter of investigating and prosecuting an abortion case. Nancy Perrin gave the utmost cooperation to this office and the Oakland Police Department, so we're talking about California now, in the processing of this case, and was very instrumental in bringing the matter to a successful conclusion. Again, Rob, this is what kind of leads me to think she was some type of informant.
Well, yeah, and this seems like one of those bona fides letters that she would carry with her to new police departments, and saying, look at all the good work that I did out in Sacramento for the chief deputy district attorney. I mean, they're giving her a glowing review. That she has the qualifications and desire to be a success in the investigative field wherever her services can be used. Blah, 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 blah.
Right. And what does that remind you of? Someone trying to use some documents to prove their bona fides.
To Fidel Castro.
Yes.
Allegedly.
Lee, yes. The above letter was prepared on letterhead stationery of the DA, Sacramento County, Sacramento, California, courthouse. In order to assist Perrin in obtaining this job, Lieutenant Parker arranged for her to be issued an identification card bearing the name Julie Ann Cody. This is one of her aliases.
Mm-hmm.
Addressed Hayward, California. This card also includes the identification number, blah, 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 and the date of issue is February 3rd, 1962. So again, she was in Dallas, 1961, right? So we're now in 62. Lieutenant Parker stated that Perrin was given this card, after which she obtained employment as a cocktail waitress at the bandstand. The owner of this establishment terminated her employment in approximately 2 weeks. Perrin was unable to obtain any information of value to the Oakland Police Department during this period of employment. You see what I'm saying, Ron?
Mm-hmm.
She was given approximately $7 a night For each night she worked at the bandstand and was therefore a paid informer of the Oakland Police Department. Lieutenant Parker stated there is no so-called false police record for Perrin in Oakland. He stated that during the period he had dealings with Nancy, he came to the conclusion that she is emotionally unreliable. He specifically described her as a screwball and nutty as a fruitcake.
I was going to say, AKA crazy. AF.
Scott, I'm not looking at the comments, but please make your comment because I know what you're going to say. He advised that Perrin reportedly volunteered her services to a number of local law enforcement agencies in the San Francisco-Oakland area. She made efforts to reestablish herself as a paid informer with the Oakland Police Department following the investigation involving the bandstand mentioned above. Lieutenant Parker said that his department has had no official dealings with her since that time. Hold on, Scott. Thank you, kid. I gotta get off the screen for a second. This is Scott's. I'm not a crackpot.
No.
And Scott, do you remember who we were talking about when, like, the first sentence of the letter to some agency or department was, "I'm not a crackpot," because I don't remember exactly who it was. It was a long time ago, but
It's hard to tell.
But when you start a message like that,
I'm not crazy.
Chances are you're a crackpot and you're crazy.
I've got a hell of a story for you.
All right, there's your layup, Scott. Thank you. All right, only a couple more here. Now we're going to June '64. President's Commission letter to Director Jagahuva.
Oiva.
Hi, Ruby. The dog. Requested specific information regarding Nancy Perrin for the purpose of evaluating her deposition furnished to the President's Commission on June 2nd, 1964. This letter in part reads as follows. During the course of her testimony, Ms. Rich testified that some individual was deliberately following her on Thursday, May 28th, 1964. So this is a couple days before her testimony, from her home in Hanover, Massachusetts to North Attleboro, Massachusetts. She stated she notified the police department of Mansfield, Massachusetts of this fact, and they have a record of either an arrest or questioning of the individual who allegedly followed Mrs. Rich. The commission desires to know whether the police department or Mansfield have any record of this alleged matter. So she thinks she's being stalked before she goes to the Warren Commission, is essentially that. And then I think this is the same day. Yeah, same day. FBI Patrolman John B. Lingley, Hanover, Massachusetts, advised that 10:48 p.m. he was detailed to River Street in Hanover, where he talked to Mrs. Frances Rich. Miss Rich complained that she had just received a telephone call from an unknown individual who said, "We're going to get you," and then hung up. She was unable to identify the voice, and further was unable to state whether it was a male or a female voice. That's kind of a problem. She also advised, unless you're Rob and you do voices, she also advised that she had been in receipt of another.
Well, my female sounds an awful lot like a male, so.
Yeah, it's okay.
I can't help it.
It's okay. She also advised that she had been in receipt of other telephone calls, and that when she answered the phone, a voice on the calling end would laugh and then hang up. She told the police officer that she suspected these calls were being made from her husband's former spouse, but she had no information to substantiate her suspicions. And that is it. So you can take that down now. So what's going on with this lady, man? She knew Jack Ruby for the course of
There
what,
we go.
two months, maybe 5 weeks. Um, then she kind of moved on, but definitely was some type of paid informant. Now, whether she was just trying to make an extra buck or not, or whether there was something more nefarious, whether there was Cuban gun running, whatever her husband at the time was into. There's a lot of scafoozery going on with this woman here.
A lot of scafoozery.
Uh, I don't really know what to make of it. I mean, I believe her in a sense. Um, I think a lot of things she says line up in terms of Jack's temperament, and she probably got pissed at him and went to the police office, the DPD, and they were like, "No, like, don't do that. Like, that's not going to happen."
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, which would make sense, obviously, considering Jack's connections with the DPD. But the whole gun running Cuban angle is interesting to me.
It is
And
interesting.
I just really don't know what to make of it, but I think of definitely fascinating woman. Um, and yeah, I don't know.
Well, I got some more interesting connections here, Joseph.
Oh, you always do. Tickle
So,
my fancy.
all right. After moving to Dallas in 1946, Jack Rubenstein changed his name to Jack Ruby, and he and his sister Eva opened up the Singapore Club, Joe.
Yes.
An important contact had migrated with Jack and his sister from the old West Side Chicago neighborhood. This guy's name was Paul Roland Jones, a known member of the Capone Syndicate. So he moved to Dallas with Eva and Jack. And then he was sent to Lansing with a life sentence for murder. I'm sorry, he had been in prison for murder and received a pardon in 1946 and was directed to move to Dallas and pose as a local sportsman. His true purpose was to take over the gambling network, the slot machines, and the numbers racket. Nick DeJohn and Pat Mano helped Jones establish all important contacts with Dallas boss Joe Piranio and liquor distributor, a guy by the name of Abe Sheps. Maybe you've heard of him.
Yeah, didn't we talk about him like last week? Sheps?
We did. Yeah, you kept saying Schweppes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sheps.
Yeah, we did in the Honest Joe
Yes.
show.
Yes.
He was the guy who allegedly charged Jack Ruby $10,000 to make that sign for him. But, you know, the Carousel Club sign?
Yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah. But he was also supplying all the liquor in the Carousel Club as well.
Right. And I believe, if my memory serves correct, which it usually doesn't, you speculated that as we looked at the sign, that could have been a payoff for something else.
Correct. As soon as Jones had been set up in Dallas in 1946, he and Ruby were involved in a bribery attempt on then Sheriff-elect Steve Guthrie. The outgoing sheriff, Smoot Schmidt, and his undersheriff, a guy by the name of Bill Decker, had for years been corruptible, meaning you could pay them off. They would take a bribe. And Jones and Decker were hopeful that Guthrie could be enlisted for a small fee. So Ruby and Jones asked Dallas police detective, maybe you've heard of him, George Butler, to arrange a meeting with the new sheriff Butler then asked Guthrie to help him with an investigation of the attempted bribery. The FBI was brought in to secretly record the meeting on November 7th, 1946. The FBI tapes were made available to the HSCA, but they were of poor quality and could not be fully transcribed. But Chicago mobsters Paul Roland Jones, Pat Mano, Sheriff Guthrie, and Detective George Butler of the DPD all attended the meeting, and Jones was heard to say on the recording that Bill Decker and DA Dean Golden had welcomed his arrival in Dallas and promised every cooperation. Guthrie said, "We all know that Bill Decker is the payoff man." According to subsequent FBI interviews with Guthrie and Butler, Jones proposed to set up a nice restaurant/club that would be a front operation for illegal gambling, and Jack Ruby would manage the operation. This is all on tape. FBI tape. Ruby, who was not present at the recorded meeting, though, avoided prosecution, but Jones did not. So, you have Jack Ruby being pretty much outed on FBI surveillance tape by Bill Decker, George Butler of the DPD, incoming Sheriff Steve Guthrie, and how they're all colluding together to do some shady shit in Dallas.
Right.
How they're all going to make this, Joe.
Yep.
So they brought bribery and racketeering charges against Jones and Butler, not Decker or Guthrie. The FBI continued their investigation, and on October 21st, 1947, Detective George Butler interviewed Homer Raymond Paget, the former manager of Jack's Singapore Club. He related to Butler that he was eavesdropping on a table conversation between Paul Jones, Eva Grant, Jack Ruby, Abe Sheps, and two other people. The conversation topic was the Chicago syndicate involvement in illegal activities in Dallas. Realizing that the coup was being overheard, one of the men jumped up from his chair and beat the shit out of the eavesdropper, who was, of course, Homer Paget, the manager of the club. That's a problem. The man then held Paget while Jack worked him over with a blackjack and pounded on his nuts. Three days later, on October 24th, Jones was arrested in Laredo, Texas, by a Federal Bureau of Narcotics agents as he brought a shipment of heroin in from Mexico. Ruby was interviewed by the FBI in reference to the investigation several days later, but managed to avoid charges. In 1950, Eva Grant moved from Dallas to California, and Jack took over main interest in the Singapore Club himself, and the name was changed to the Silver Spur. And we saw this on Wednesday night's members only show. I showed you guys where it is now, where it was then, and kind of what it looks like, or looked like. Ruby's criminal interest expanded during the next several years to vice and pornographic venues. And in 1953, he became a business partner with Joe Bonds, another old friend from Chicago. They obtained permission from La Cosa Nostra Dallas boss Joe Piranio to open up a strip joint called the Vegas Club. The relationship between the two old friends became mutually hostile, and Ruby was observed by club patrons to have, on one occasion, chased his partner out of the club with a pistol. In 1954, Bonds was convicted of white slavery and sodomy. That's early talk for trafficking women, you know, and doing whatever you wanted with them. White slavery. What are you in for? Man, don't even ask. Jack retained ownership of the Vegas Club until 1963. At the same time the partnership had commenced with the Vegas Club, Ruby had taken over the notorious downtown porn house, the Hervé Theater, which is right next to the Silver Spur. All right. Violence continued as a lifestyle for many of Capone's West Side errand boys. from the Kit Howard Gymnasium, where Jack Ruby used to box as a youth. Right?
The Ute.
As a youth. In November 1955, an FBI memorandum reports that Leonard Lenny Patrick, one of Jack Ruby's friends, along with Charles Chucky the Typewriter Nicoletti, what a nickname, Chucky the Typewriter. What the fuck, man? We're headed for... Huh?
You have that, what's that girl in the news that's like Trump's Gumar? She's called the, what is it, the human printer, or the Natalie Harp, the person that goes around and prints stuff and shows tweets to Trump that he's alleged having an affair with.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's big in the news.
In 1955, Jack had part of his index finger bitten off in a fight in the Vegas club. As a result of getting his finger bitten off, he beat the other man into unconsciousness with a pair of brass knuckles.
Wow.
That's why they called him Pinky,
Oh, okay.
allegedly.
That
From
makes sense.
1950 to 1963, there were 15 documented occasions when Ruby assaulted patrons in his club with a pistol or a blackjack. That's a lot. Despite his great capacity for violence, he was only arrested 8 times in 13 years on a variety of charges ranging from disturbing the peace and carrying a concealed weapon to assault and battery. During this period, Joe, the most severe penalty that he ever got for any of his arrests was a $35 fine. No jail time, no community service,
No wonder why he got
no
he gave
parole.
free drinks to everyone. And Kadula said Chucky the typewriter Charles Nicoletti was known for the sound of his machine gun. That makes sense.
Plunk, 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 plunk. Plunk, 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 plunk. I like it.
They eat him his pinky and stuff.
He would just eat him and stuff.
Including his pinky.
Louis McWillie, Joe,
Oh.
was another important friend and associate of Jack Ruby, but he was never called to give testimony to the Warren Commission. Although more than just a gambler, McWillie arranged high-stake card games at the Petroleum Club and the Highland Park Country Club, as well as other prestigious private venues. His patrons included such notable names as Clint Murchison, Sid Richardson, and H.L. Hunt. Maybe you've heard of these giant oil magnates.
Yeah.
Big money, big gambling. Louis McWillie, swinging dick. In 54 and 55, McWillie enlisted the help of liquor magnate Abe Sheps to get curfew restrictions lifted at Jack's Vegas club with his contacts in the DA's office and with the DPD and the sheriff's department. McWillie's high-profile patrons earned him the reputation of being a money manager, and in 1958 he became the manager of the Tropicana in Havana, Cuba. His employers were Pedro and Martin Fox, members of the Tampa La Cosa Nostra. They were also involved in narcotics as well as gambling, and they answered to one man named Santo Traficante Jr. And likely McWillie knew R.D. Matthews very well.
And by the way, Sally, do you know what is a blackjack? And if you don't know, if anyone in the chat does.
What is a blackjack? It is like a sand-filled leather bag that you just beat the shit out of somebody with.
I see.
Basically, it's a weighted, like leather bound, like I don't know,
All right.
or it's like a stick, like a nightstick.
Yeah. Okay.
It could be either thing. When they talked to Burt Griffin from the Warren Commission during the HSCA, Burt Griffin asked Blakey if he had adequately explored the relationship between Ruby and McWillie and possible connections to organized crime figures. And Judge Griffin says, if we were conducting an investigation into whether there could have been a conspiracy to assassinate the president that involved the mafia, my answer would be that this was not an adequate investigation that they did back then. So you have Warren Commission member Burt Griffin saying that they didn't do a very good job following the mafia angles.
All right.
But dude, there is so much more that all these guys are just mixed up in. We'll get more into it on members only.
But they're very intertwined, right?
They are very intertwined, very much so.
And like I said, it all like you said, or one of us said, it all comes down to the bottom line, right? A lot of these police officers, commissioners, DAs were corrupt, and the mafia had a lot more power than say it does in 2026, right? Back then, so you have to take that in context. And I think when you go back to Mrs. Nancy Perrin Rich, she kind of got involved in that and then kind of said, "This is even too much for me," type of thing.
Yeah, she got a taste of it.
She definitely did.
But like I said, we'll get more into this and more next week for part 2 on members only. Again, if you are not a member yet and you would like to try it out, I believe that there's a free trial. So feel free to sign up for it. Just hit the join button. And if you like it, check it out. Become a member. We don't mail it in on Wednesday nights for members. We do a full-fledged show just like this one for channel members that support us and love us. And trust me, they're bangers.
They are.
We can do so much more on a members only show that we cannot do here.
And we do a lot here.
Yeah. Sometimes we do the show naked on Wednesday nights. Just ask the members. Allegedly. Ruby does the show naked every night.
Yes.
Yes, she does. So grab her naked ass.
I have her.
And there she is, by golly. Folks, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show. And we hope we'll see you next week, members only. If not, we'll see you next Friday. And in the meantime, there will be some skafoozery, like book reviews and a rambling that you are not going to want to miss this weekend, because trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. Let's just say,
oh boy,
it has something to do with Nothing Burgers and the guy that makes them. That's all I'll say right now. But it's a good one.
I don't know what it is, but
Joe does. He has no idea.
I have no idea.
But trust me,
plausible deniability. Plausible deniability.
And Big Bad Bob will be on full display for the rambling, because he has something to say, and somebody else that ain't gonna like it. But we'll get there this weekend, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you enjoyed the show. We love you guys, and we'll see you next time here on the Lone Gunman Podcast. Ain't that right, Ruby?
That is right, Robbie.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Ruby.
Ruby wishes everyone a good weekend.
Yes. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Or Jack wouldn't do.
Or jack off. Have a great weekend, everybody. Peace.